make it in writing. It's a lot clearer if you do that, and you can't enforce an oral request. If they've got an Open Records Act officer, you need to have a written request. So make your request in writing. Be friendly, be reasonable. You know, tell them exactly what you want. But you don't have to be unkind about it, but make it in writing. Okay. Immediate access. The law calls for you to get access to the records within 3 business days. Not just a response, access. However, you're going to see the exceptions sort of eat that immediate access up. Okay, 3-day letters. There are 3 situations where a government can write you a letter, in fact, sometimes must write you a letter, rather than respond. Yes?
Chambers of Commerce exempt from this?
It depends on whether the Chamber of Commerce is an agency or not. The rules on that are complex, but here's the bottom line. Chamber of Commerce gets 1/3 of its funding from state or local sources. It's an agency. If the Chamber of Commerce has had some sort of governmental function transferred to it, we think that specific part of those records will be open. If the Chamber of Commerce has received documents to hold for a government, it's open. And by the way, don't buy if someone says to you from a government side, hey, we took our records and we gave them to this company to hold the records for us, so we can't produce them to you. Well, it's true. The Open Records Act only applies to the records held by the agency. But that third party that took those records and is holding them has now made itself subject to the Act. Your right to those records is not cut off by giving them to somebody else. Okay? They do that, they're going to open the door up for them. And if they have a fee structure with them, then that's their problem, as long as they only charge you the fees that you're required by statute. Okay, so here's what the 3-day the requirements for the letter.
So, can the agency charge you a flat fee, period? You come into a governmental entity, you want to do an open records request, they hand you a form that says, we're always charging you $25, period. And you may not even get anything back for that. We're charging you $25, you've got to give up the $25 to determine that request. Is that?
Okay, that's if it's an executive branch agency and they don't have a statute that says they can charge you a flat fee for it, which sometimes they do, then they're going to apply the cost provisions that we will discuss in just a moment. Okay, in other words, they don't have a statute that says you can charge a flat fee and they're going to charge you only these costs. And if they charge you a different fee, then they are doing it wrong. Okay, we'll talk about, you and I can talk about exactly what that, who that is. Okay, so just so you know, they can write you a letter, sometimes have to write you a letter. One of these 3 situations exists. Number 1, the documents are not readily available, meaning they're going to have to gather them. And they have to tell you when they're going to be available. Number 2, you're going to have costs charged to you. Here's the bottom line on costs. If it's $25 or less, they can gather the documents and send them to you without a letter. You don't need to say, I'm willing to pay $25. You owe up to $25 depending on what the costs were, if it's $25 or less. If it's more than $25, up to $500, they must give you an estimate of the costs in advance. In writing. That's just 3-day letter. Estimate of how much production will cost. They must give that to you in advance. We want agencies to contact you back and say, is that okay? And you can agree to it or say, no, that's wrong, let me change my request. Or correct it somehow so you don't have to pay all this amount that they want to charge you. What if it's more than $500? In that situation, they can say to you, not only, here's our 3-day letter, here's our estimate, but we're not going to do anything on gathering these until you pay us.
I have a question back here.
Yes.
Can one government official from a different department make a request and still be obligated to pay these fees? In other words, or even from a separate municipality or separate county or something like that, is there any courtesy, or are they just as obligated to pay for these fees?
Look, if one, there's no simple answer to that. I can put it this way. If I'm investigating somebody in my role, I can make an open records request on them and I don't have to pay a fee to get the records. But if you represent such and such municipality and I want records from this municipality, or city and county, I see this all the time when they ask for each other's records. Yeah, they can charge each other for those. Unless they've got some sort of agreement that they worked out where they're not going to do that. But yes, they can charge for those. Ma'am?
Educational records. School system says, we have the records, this is going to cost for us to reproduce the records, yada yada. I'm a citizen, I'm a taxpayer of Georgia. Can I take my copy machine over there
We think you can, yes.
and plug it up?
As long as you are not interfering with their business, you can either just come and look at the records and not pay the 10